Thank you very much, everyone, for spending the time with us today, attending this webinar. My name is William, and I am currently leading a team in Air Singapore called NLP Hub. And today we are going to introduce a new open source NLP platform called Singapore NLP, or SG-NLP. Right? My colleagues, Alon and Jonathan, later will walk you through the details of it, following the agenda items that are shown on the slides here. Right? And we envision SG-NLP to be the home for publicly accessible, publicly available NLP models that are built in Singapore. Right? Now, before I pass it on to Alon and Jonathan, allow me to spend the next few minutes sharing with you the background and the motivation behind this effort. So I think most of us here are NLP users or NLP practitioners, right? And I would say that we should consider ourselves lucky because for most of our NLP problems, we can find pre-trained models available for us to use, right? We can download them, we can fine-tune them to fit our needs. If we are lucky, sometimes we don't even need to fine-tune them, right? We can just use the pre-trained models as is, or we perform some zero shot and it still works for us. But from time to time, we do encounter NLP problems that don't fit in squarely into categories where pre-trained models are widely available. Problems like discourse parsing at sentence level, problems like tracking emotion buildup in conversation, problems like in a chatbot, how are you gonna deal with follow-up questions, right? So these are more exotic, long tail kind of NLP problems. And when we're dealing with them, typically we are entering into a more DIY kind of territory, right? But if you're like me, before we even start coding, right, we would consult the literature, see if anybody else has done it before, right? If there is, typically there is a repo accompanying that paper. So we don't really have to start from zero. But we also know that repos that are accompanying research papers, they are not necessarily developed with practical applications in mind. So it may take a while for us to reproduce them, to configure them to suit our needs, right? And if we are lucky only to find after spending a few weeks reproducing, that is not the right solution for us, right? So it becomes a wasted kind of effort. So if only we live in a world where, in an ideal world, where every NLP papers are accompanied by easy to use APIs like what we have in Hugging Face, right? Or even better, if it is also accompanied by demo pages like what we see in LM-NLP, right? So that even before coding, we roughly know what the models can or cannot do, right? But of course, we don't live in an ideal world. And you know, it's probably a tall order to get us closer to that ideal, you know, across the world. But as AI Singapore, we have some means and capacity to improve the situation, at least in Singapore, closer to that ideal. So enters SG-NLP into the picture. So my team here over the past few months have been reviewing top NLP papers published, authored by Singapore researchers and Singapore professors. We reproduce them, we build standardized APIs, and also accompanying demo pages for all of us here to use, right? And we should really consider ourselves lucky that you know, our starting point is Singapore, right? Because we do have some very prominent NLP figures in this country, right? Some of you may have read their papers before, right? And just to give a snapshot that in ACL 2020, which is a top conference in the NLP field, right? Between these bright minds, they contributed to about 16 accepted papers, and that puts Singapore number 7 in the world, which is not a bad accomplishment at all, right, for a small country like ours, right? And because of this, as we start building up the list, the list of models in our SG-NLP catalogs, right, we already have some very good models there. And as we reach out to more researchers in the country, I think we will add on high quality NLP models to the catalog, right? So this is really the conception behind SGNLP. And now let me pass it on to my colleagues, Alon and Jonathan, who will share the journey that we have taken so far with you. Take it away, Alon.
Thank you, William. So as William mentioned, we'll start with an introduction for our product that you came here today to see and learn more about. We'll have some example for use cases on how to use how do we envision using the product. Of course, anyone can. We're opening it to the public, so everyone can use it the way they find useful. And then we'll have a bit of technical sharing about some technical challenges and how we dealt with them during the development of the product. That will be done by Jonathan. So without further ado, let me start with what is our vision for the product. So basically, by developing SGNLP, we're trying to make the models from Singapore NLP research groups more accessible to practitioners and to the industry. We want to bring exposure to this model, and we also want to make them easy to use, so people can download and use them for their own use cases or companies, or even for their learnings. And by doing so, we hope this will lead to a closer collaboration and more opportunities for translational research between academia and the industry. So what is the product? How does it look like? So we have an interactive demo website that we're gonna take a look at right now. This is, we'll share the link later. And of course, you can also Google it and find, this is already public. So this is our platform. Here we explain again, what is it for? We give some technical information about the licenses and how to contact us. And then the main, the business side, I guess, is on here. When we share a few of tasks that can be tackled by NLP models, and we divided them by categories of conversational, grammar, knowledge, and social media analysis. And under each category, we have the specific research or models that we have implemented and adapted to share on this on the platform. And this is not the full list. We're currently working on extending it, and in the next couple of months, it's supposed to be doubled. And we hope that in future, we will continue to add to it, and also the research groups themselves will contribute here, and the community, and together we'll build like a platform that people come to share and learn and find out what models are being developed in Singapore and how can we best use them. So to give an example, this specific model tackles grammatical error correction. On the top, you choose the model. If there are multiple models tackling the same, tackling the same task, then we gave a few example input that you can choose from, but you can input here whatever text you want, and you run the model. Depending on the model, this can take from a few seconds to sometimes a minute, depending on the load as well. And then you get the results from the model, which is the demo on how this model works, taking sentences that you input and correcting the grammar for those. This is the example output of the demo. And if you want to learn more about the specific model, you can, the information about the model, general description, a link to its paper, and more information can found in the model card. And basically, this would be the first step of seeing what kind of models we're hosting and the basic use of them. The second thing that we, the second important feature will be, of course, the Python package that you can download and use it to load, use, and train the available models. It can be found on PyPy, and it's also public. So if you go there, you can find, again, the package, how to install it, the information. And from there, you can also, or from our demo website, you can reach the documentation, which can tell you, like, if you have more question or a deeper dive into the models and how to use the platform. So you can reach it either from here or from the top right corner of our demo that's here. And again, if you have any questions or want to interact with us, you can either go to our discussion forum that can reach through the community here, or to our website to learn about more things that we're developing in NLP Hub in AI Singapore. This, I hope, gave a general idea of how the platform looks like and how to interact with it. And now, let me take you on a short journey to a few use cases that we envision for SGNLP and how to use it. So let's say that you are a company owner or you're launching a new product and you're interested in learning fast about this product, what you need to improve on that, get this feedback, useful and meaningful feedback fast. And you can also, for the same, have the same needs if you're managing a customer service operation, such as like a live chat, a call center, or even training agents that will do, that are doing this exact job. The problems that you'll be facing once reviews starting to pile up, or a lot of many customers are interacting with you or with your company, is that you have limited resources. That's time and also people on your team, and scaling. Once this becomes the volume picks up, it's not as easy to answer and have the same personal touch with each customer, and finding those problematic ones that you need to take care of, not problematic features that you need to take care of immediately. So you would like, of course, a way to automate this. And one of the models that we are hosting on our platform can give you such, can help you with such automation, specifically automating and recognizing the cause behind emotion in conversational texts. So for that, we suggest to use our emotion entailment. This will be found under conversational tools. I'll jump back to, if you see here, I'll close the rest. There's no, we have under conversational tools, emotion entailment and causal span extraction. Both are basically trying to extract the meaningful sentences from a text or from a text conversation that led to a specific emotion. Right now, we allow anger, and this is an example for a conversation between two people. And when running the model, we hope instead of reading the whole conversation, you would like to find what sentence or what triggered a specific emotion. And this model, if the target utterance is the end one that reflects the anger, then it finds specifically here span of parts of the conversation that may lead to it. In this specific conversation is about something related to a traffic incident, and the utterances that are relevant are like, you pulled right in front of me and you didn't give me time to change lanes. So each and every one can take it to their own use case. And the paper itself allows for more emotions than just anger, and we'll open up the other emotions soon. So the other model, right, chooses not a span, but complete sentences. And this one you can see here. The target utterance is here. So the causal utterance for the sadness is this sentence. And if we give, we take a random Amazon product review, or we in a form of a conversation, and we have that the anger by the client, not happy with his product, and why did it come to that? Why is he angry about this product specifically? And for you, it will help you, if you're using it for your use case, helps you extract the right sentences and not going over full conversation, automating the process and helping save time. And now let's say you want to use it. So as we saw before, you will go to the model card if you want to learn more about it. And there's also a model usage card for most of and in future for all of our models that shows you how exactly, what kind of code you need to write in order to implement this, what each line of code is doing, and a simple example for you to use. And if you're looking for more information and a more detailed, you can hit our advanced tutorial for a few of our more detailed use cases on how to implement the model, how to use them. So we went here step by step, and you can use that also to implement it on your side. A second use case that will come. So as we saw, like the documentation, the model usage tabs are here. So I'm switching to another use case. Let's say you're working for a law firm, and a lot of the tasks that you're in charge of is frequently trying to find precedents for various cases or scenarios and extract information regarding specific entities. But for that, you have to go through enormous amounts of text. And again, the challenges are limited resources, which is yourself or whatever team you have working with you, and the scale in which you, let's say the deadline is for next week, and there are a mountain of documents you want to go through. So of course, you want to automate this process as well. And in this case, one of the models that might be relevant is doing two tasks that can help you: relation extraction between two entities, and co-reference resolution. So if a same entity, legal entity, a company, a person you're looking for in a text can be mentioned in various names. So this is a very known NLP task, and one of the models that we're hosting is doing exactly that. So under knowledge mining, you choose the relation extraction, and you will get, so as I mentioned, it's two parts. The first part, you get like core reference named entities such as people or places or companies. And if they're mentioned a few times, so this will be easily marked and extracted. So even if the name appears one time in a full form, and sometimes only the first name or the last name, and it still picks it up and help you find all the references for this specific entity. And the second part is the relations between the entities. So if you're looking for a company owned by another company or merged by a company, here you can see other relationships like date of birth or country of citizenship. So those are actually, if you're looking for a specific relationship, this can be extracted as well. So you don't have to read through the text, and it's automating that part. So that's like another example of how you can use it. But in this case, the relationships I'm looking for are non-existing in the text and in the specific model, or not yet implemented. And you need more than what the model that we demo on the website gives you. So in this case, again, specifically here, it was the knowledge mining and relation extraction. And so if you want to learn more, you can go to the paper. There's a link here to the research paper when you can read it through and understand more about how it was implemented, try to do it yourself. If you're not a technical person, you don't have the right team to do this job, you can also, of course, contact us or the research teams. The research team information is usually within the paper, and in order to contact us, in the bottom of every page, you can just scroll down, find the information how to contact us, or put a post on the community forum that we monitor and work with all the time. Any query you have on how to use, on how to implement this further, you can write there. And then we can help you. Of course, those links also appear on the top. And we can help you basically take this and develop a product or an implementation that is specific for your use case. So as I mentioned, through the model card, that you can reach your research group or our group or the community forum, and we can take it one step further, because the demo website doesn't do exactly what you need, but it gives you an idea on how to start and where to take it from there. So I hope this was a good taste of what can be done with our website, with our platform. And I'll take a pause here and invite people. Right now, we're going to share, Jonathan is going to share a bit about the technical challenges and technical information. If you don't if you don't find this interesting, I think it's very interesting, and I invite you to stay. But if this is not the part that is interesting to you, and you still have questions, so we'll be answering questions simultaneously in the Q&A section. So hit us there, and we'll reply during. And we'll, of course, stay at the end and take questions either in a written or oral form, and help everyone understand exactly what this platform is about and how to use it best. So from here, I'll move it. I'll give Jonathan. You can share and take the technical sharing from here.
Okay. Thanks, Alon. So now I'll do the technical sharing for the project. This section of the talk goes in depth into the technical details of our work. So for those who are actively involved in the development of machine learning applications, you might find this part relevant and interesting to your work. So I'll be covering things such as how we went about our Python package design, the tech stack we used, the architecture of the application, how we manage our deployment, and general development experiences. So first, one of our first tasks is to decide how we want our open source Python package to look like. So we are strong believers of the KISS principle, which is to keep it simple. So creating another framework for practitioners to pick up doesn't seem like the way to go. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel and add another framework to the large pool of frameworks already available. So we looked at some of the popular NLP libraries, such as LearnNLP and Hugging Face for inspiration. Ideally, we want it to be easy to use and already familiar with existing NLP practitioners. So ultimately, we went with the decision of using the interfaces from Hugging Face's transformers. So some of the reasons include it being not highly opinionated. So it can be seen as a light wrapper around PyTorch or TensorFlow. It is already quite popular among the NLP community, and it has very helpful utilities such as for loading and saving of the models. Okay. So another big part of our work is to convert research papers code to fit into the package. So one of the challenges we face is that research code is often written with a different intention. So the objective could be to get an improvement in a certain metric. And often this leads to the model not being ready to be used in a general sense. So it could be that certain pre-processing steps and modeling steps and model steps are not cleanly separated. At times, some of the training and model configs are tangled together, and there are also other problems that might lead to it being difficult to save and load easily. And of course, each researcher has their own style of coding. So for someone who wants to get into using all this code, there might be a high barrier to getting started. So what we want to do is to refactor the code and unify the way it is being presented. So this is heavily influenced by the transformers package, and we inherit some of their classes to do so. We also do our best to reproduce the results that are reported in the original paper and indicate the results of the models that we retrain in the model card section of the demo page. So let's take a look at the key classes and interfaces that we have in the package. First, look at the components that we need during training. So we have the training config, which includes parameters such that concern how the model is trained, such as learning rates, batch sizes, epochs. We also have the model config, which is used to construct the PyTorch model. And this is where you can keep information such as layer sizes, types of layers, and activation functions. Next, we also have the preprocessor, which is a class that takes the data in its original or raw form and returns a tensor dictionary. And here, other preprocessing steps and tokenization can take place. So what we expect is that the model is able to take in the preprocessor's output directly and return a model output after going through the forward function. So these are some of the key components that are needed during training time, and all of them includes some form of state that needs to be saved so that they can be loaded during inference time. And we, through the classes that we provide, all of them have some methods associated to save and load them. Now, during inference time, we no longer need the training config, but it is still useful to save the training config because it is a record of how our model is trained, and ideally we want to be able to reproduce the same results with the same training configuration. Now, for inference, sometimes you'll require an extra post-processing step. So this is an optional class because some model outputs can be quite complicated and not easily interpreted. Whereas in some cases, they can be easily understood. For example, in a simple binary classification problem, the output can be from a sigmoid function, which can be seen as a probability score directly. In the cases where outputs are hard to interpret, we recommend adding a post-processor, which changes the outputs to a more understandable form. But even then, it can be difficult to visualize or understand the output because these are it can be still a wall of text and numbers. And this is where the demo website comes in. So the demos are designed to help users easily understand what the model can actually do. Okay, let me move on to share how our architecture works. So this on the architecture of this demo website application. So we deploy it on a Kubernetes cluster, and we have a single entry point through the ingress. So depending on the route, we redirect to different services such as the UI or the model APIs. This is known as a reverse proxy setup. And so what we do is we treat every model as a separate service, and we can scale the number of pods running if we want to fulfill a higher load demand. And here's the tech stack that we used. We use TypeScript and React for the front end. So these are choices based on the experience and familiarity of the team members. Because if the team is familiar with another front end stack, you can use that. Though our experience is that we originally started with JavaScript, and we felt that moving to TypeScript was helpful in organizing and understanding the code. The backend is something relatively simple. We use Flask for the backend APIs and JUnicorn to run the server in production. So we also have our SGNLP package there, which makes use of PyTorch and transformers to load and run the models. And a big part of our project is how we handle the deployments. So we make use of the GitLab CI/CD to run tests, build our Docker images, push them to container registries, and deploy them to the Kubernetes cluster using Helm. And we also have the Azure Blob Storage, which we host our weights and configuration files that are available for the public to download. So the pre-trained models that we have, you are all free to use it through our package. Okay, so the following section, I'll cover some points that I felt were important during development. So these are some learning points. Yeah. So first of all is to make deployment easy. And we only fully built all the pipelines for our model APIs in the second half of the project. So before that, there was actually a lot of pain and time involved for individual developers to try to build and test locally. And later on, after having the pipelines for the model API being ready, it really improved the development feedback cycle. So our CI/CD steps are fairly straightforward. So there are tests that we run to check for breaking changes, and then we build the images and push them to the container registry. Lastly, we run the Helm upgrade command to apply changes to our deployed environment. We also make use of multiple deployment environments with a staging environment, which is available to the dev team to test changes. So we strongly encourage developers to utilize it for their own testing. Then we have the production environment, which we only deploy to after testing on the staging environment. Another question that we had during the development was whether to choose Flask, because there are certain question marks on whether Flask can deal with scalability issues. But ultimately, we wanted to start with something simple, and we decided to solve the scalability problem through the Kubernetes configuration. Now, of course, there are also other model serving options, which we'll briefly discuss. Some of the key features of deploying on Kubernetes is that we are able to easily scale the deployments if we need to. There are no downtime during deployments if properly configured. And in the future, if we want to use a more advanced model sampling framework, they typically require a Kubernetes cluster to do so. And some of these include Seldon, Kubeflow Serving, Razor. So these are all advanced model serving options that can replace Flask. However, for our current demand and load, Flask is sufficient. So another challenge that we faced was that we had many models to deploy. So this image of how some of our model pipelines look like in the GitLab CI. So to effectively manage the deployment process, we make use of templating tools such as JSONnet and Helm. So they are very helpful in reducing the duplication of the code and configuration we have. And we have a much better time controlling and changing the configuration across various environments, such as in the staging and the production environments. So this is the end of the technical sharing session. I'll pass on the time to Alon, who will conclude the presentation.
Thank you, Jonathan. So first, I want to thank the team that worked on this for quite a few months in the past year, even developing and interacting with the different research groups, and that the fruits of that labor you were seeing today. So Jonathan, Benedict, Raymond, and Jechong, thank you very much for all your hard work. And I also want to thank everyone here that came to this session. John, you can switch to the next slide where we're showing, this is of course, invite everyone to visit us at SGNLP demo website and contact us through the channels we mentioned before if you have any question. And we've been taking questions, I've been seeing along the way, but of course we'll take any question and even beyond the time that was allocated. If we'll stay here until we answer every last question. And I invite you, all the participants, also to stay tuned. In the next couple of months, we're going to launch another platform. That one will be dealing with opening new opportunities to work with Southeast Asian languages. And we'll be sharing in a similar fashion in webinars and online. And of course, if you, we're also looking for new members to join our team as we're growing, and we have also big plans for the future. So if you have a special interest in machine learning, developing machine learning based products, or a special interest in NLP, so please feel free to reach out to us through the same channels, inquiring about those positions as well. Yeah, and we'll now be taking questions. And Benedict, if there's any question you wanted to answer live, we can do it now. And thank you. And if you have got all the information that you needed, so feel free to log off, and thank you for joining us today.
So yeah, I think we can take from now on the questions live, yeah?
Yeah.
So maybe we start from the first one here on my list. How is this different from the pre-trained models from Hugging Face? Well, they're different, right? Because these are models that are trained for specific purposes, whereas the ones in Hugging Face, they are mostly language models. Of course, some of them are being fine-tuned to certain tasks, right? So I think what we have here are specially customized for the contributions made by the Singapore community, Singapore research communities, right? So you need to look at our catalogs to find if there is any of those models fit to your needs, right? And I think typically, because these are quite, as I said, long tail kind of NLP problems that we include here, you may not find them in Hugging Face, right? So this is what we think should be the advantage of SGNLP. Hope that answers your question, Weiji. Next one, Senthil Kumar. Is there any models available for document understanding? This one I need to check with Jonathan and Benedict. Do you see anything in the pipeline right now?
So when William mentions pipeline, he means our models that we plan to publish and add to the list. Currently, there's one of the models that the published models don't deal with that problem. And I'll let Jonathan maybe continue about the future ones.
Yeah, I think document understanding itself is a pretty big term. So need to be more specific on what you actually want to do with the document. You need to extract certain spends relating to your invoice or things like that. We don't have anything specific for invoice processing, but there are many models that can be adapted for such a use case.
Yeah, can I invite Senthil Kumar, do reach out to us at the community group forums, right? And we will have a more detailed discussion for your specific use case. All right. So Joseph, okay, for candidates, Joseph, do you want to email? Do you have our emails, right? I think you can email it to us. You can reach out to us. We'll write back to you, right, on the forms. Yeah, thanks, Benedict. So we still have one more question. I have a couple of questions related to the usage of it. Am I right to say that prediction are yes, that's correct. It's running on our platform for the prediction inference on our demo page right now, right? But of course, if you want to customize your own the models to your own use cases, you will need to go to our API page, download it, and then the resources will be running on your premise. Right?
Yeah. So the process we envision is to get a taste of what the model can do using our demo platform, typing a few of your examples, use the existing one. But if you find this useful, then the information about how to use and the tutorials are to how to download the models to your machine or computer and run and train it further on your own data, making it specialized for your type of data and task, and then really see what this model can do for you. And this will require resources on your side, depending on the scale and your problem. Then you might require GPUs to have a fast training and cycles of improving that model for your use case.
Jonathan, do you want to comment on the auto scaling capability?
Yeah, sure. So for auto scaling capability is actually a feature that Kubernetes provides. So yeah, so there are a few ways you can do it. If you want an auto scaling one, you can use Kubernetes to add this auto scaling feature, and you can look at maybe the CPU usage of your pods, and you'll kind of scale up when it goes past a certain threshold, or you can just manually increase the replicas as well if you're expecting a high load in a certain period of time. Yeah.
All right.
So just to finish the last part of the question, which is Helm is a tool that manages your Kubernetes application. So the scaling feature is still from Kubernetes itself.
Next question, what is your public repo for community contribution? Ben, you want to take this?
Yeah, I'll share the link in a response to the question. So yeah, we'll share the GitHub link.
Maybe I'll add for community contribution, we plan to run a few workshops in the coming months on how best to adapt models to the same API or form that we have adapted. So it will be easy for the community to use and reproduce and work with those models. So we'll run a few workshops, and we'll plan to have a more extensive guide on how to contribute in future.
Oh, William, I think you're muted. Yeah. You start again.
Yeah, sorry about that. What's the main difference between LSR and MRC? Sorry, what are those now? Are you guys familiar?
The models.
I believe LSR is the relation extraction model, but I'm not sure what MRC is referring to in this case. Albert, could you elaborate? Yeah, and while waiting for that, maybe we can move on to the next question. So, Yang Pitchen, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So yeah, you asked about the findings or results of the data sets. So in terms of the findings or the results, you will not be required to share this if you're using it on your own data set. The only caveat is if you are using some of the models from certain research groups, they have requested that for non-commercial purposes, there is a separate license from the commercial users. So do check out our demo page and the model card to just verify what are the licenses for each model.
And I think we have Albert just sent us what MRC means. Machine reading comprehension for entity relation extraction. Any thought, Ben?
I am not familiar with this specific task, to be honest. Yeah,
Albert, we'll take this question offline. Okay, do drop us an email. We'll have the discussion with you.
This also seems like a very good discussion point for our community forum. So feel free to raise it up there as well, and so more people can contribute to the answer and understand better. And yeah, I want to also follow up on Ben's note about the licenses. So each model, most, if not all of our models are being released under open source license, but some are approved for commercial use, or most are approved for commercial use. Some may have some restrictions. So make sure you read into that and understand before using the models. If it's not for commercial use, then of course the route of reaching out to the professor, the research group, or even for us to help you understand better how you can use this model, then definitely take that route, and you can still use it probably, but need more coordination and work with that research group in order to use it.
Right, I'm going to move on to Ken actually clarified Senthil Kumar's earlier point on document understanding. So if it means like what Ken is elaborating here, so we don't really have a model specifically addressed to get this structure from the text, right? But some of our models, like the relationship extraction, actually includes a module that can be relevant to this, right? So with some customization, I think it's possible for us to explore this particular use case of document understanding, if this is what Senthil Kumar means by document understanding.
And I think also to plug one of the other products by another team on AI Singapore, do check out Tag UI. On our AI Singapore products. That may be a bit more useful if your documents are of a very standard structure.
Chi Chiang asked, do you offer training course for SGNLP? Alon?
I think we do not offer a specific training course. We'll make this webinar available online if you want to watch it again. We'll do a few more sharing. If you're interested in a bit more technical information, we'll have another webinar with the Data Science SG group next week. And in future, as I mentioned, we're going to have contribution guides or contribution workshop on how to help grow the platform and add new models to it. I guess there will be more learning about the platform there, understanding. So we'll be sure to drop us a message if you want to get a specific invite to one of those workshops, and we'll be sure to include you.
If one were to use SGNLP to make a mental health chatbot, how many models would we need to use, and how would SGNLP be better than other packages? Right. So I would think that that will require some models that we are currently having in the pipeline as well, right? So it's definitely more than one model. We're probably going to have a bit of question answering models, and of course the emotional tracking will be also part of it, right? We need to know exactly the problems, the scope of the problems, and then we can map it into a pipeline of models that we can use, right? Now, maybe there will be parts of the pipeline where, it's not going to be handled by SGNLP, right? But the team here, we are NLP Hub, right? We have that capability also to build customized model in between. Right?
Yeah, so, and also maybe to add, we have also a specific product for information retrieval, or that can handle also queries or Q&A, which you can check out general information about it. It will be on our website of NLP Hub in the coming months. This website, our NLP Hub, can also be reached through the top right corner of SGNLP demo page. And yeah, stay tuned. Maybe that product will be useful for your case.
And maybe just one more point, right, to add, right? In case you are not aware, in AI Singapore, we do have a mechanism where we can address some industry needs in collaboration with university professors, including the ones whose models are in our SGNLP catalog.
Yeah, those are 100E specifically, and if you want to learn more about that, then through this one's through the general AI Singapore website.
Okay, we have one last question here. Which model will be recommended to detect the most emotions?
Okay, maybe I can take a stab at the question. I think we do have a few more questions to ask, actually, just following up from your question. But I think the thinking process would be, it depends on what context you are interested in. So if you are looking for something similar to what Alon presented earlier, which is some kind of a dialogue or conversational setup, then the Recon model actually has a couple of emotions that are listed in the original paper, and those emotions are already something that you can use the model for. However, if you are interested in something slightly different, so maybe something like product reviews, then that would be more of a sentiment analysis task, and then you may want to use a different model instead. So I think we really can't give you a very exact or accurate answer without getting more information. But if you like, either email us or maybe post it on the community page, and then we can take this discussion further.
There's another question here. What is SGNLP model? I assume it means that gives the best accuracy here, I assume, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Jonathan, we do have the accuracies included in a model card for every model.
Yes.
So you can check what is the accuracy that was reported either in the paper, or we actually tested it further on our end to make sure that it is really that level of accuracy that the model can give, right? Now, we also make a little bit of a list of criteria of what kind of models we include in SGNLP, right? So one of them is, of course, it has to be of decent accuracy as well, right? So usually when it's already going into our catalog, it should be of decent quality. Sometimes you probably need to customize it, and that's where we probably need to reach out. You probably need to reach out to us, and we can work together with you to improve this further. Right? I think the key for SGNLP is also we want to make all these models being applied in industry setting. That's why accuracy needs to be of certain standard.
Yes, and maybe to add to that, that it's also depending on your specific use case. If you download the model and you fine-tune it further on your own data, it's supposed to help get a better accuracy and hopefully get a better accuracy for your specific use. So it's really not a guaranteed accuracy to work on any type of data. But for more information about that, you probably want to refer to the paper that we also share in the model card section. Yeah, I think that's all the questions we have open right now. If anyone wants to add now, we'll stick around for a few more minutes. And yeah, anything more, William?
No, I just want to say thank you again to all the participants who have attended this webinar, right? We hope to talk to you more in our community forums, right? Invite you to also contribute, because again, this is an open source platform, right? So hope to see you guys there, and thanks again for spending some time with us this morning.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining. Really appreciate the time and the open discussion, and we hope to hear from you soon.